Today, I'll be drinking this Aloha Passion Orange straight from Hawaii. So if you've ever been to Hawaii, this stuff is everywhere. I highly recommend it. And it comes in like 18 different flavors when you're in Hawaii. Aloha Passion Orange straight from Hawaii. So if you've ever been to Hawaii, this stuff is everywhere. Okay, sorry, there was an echo. I apologize for that. And we should be good. All right, so we're streaming, we're all set up, and quit out of some of this other stuff that's on. And we're back to Zoom. Great. All right, so I'm going to make sure that we're recording. We are, and that's great. So today's class, we're going to concentrate on special events and marketing. So any other news you want to talk about? You can raise your hand and use the chat function if you have anything else you'd like to talk about.
I have something that I would like to mention real quick.
Sure, go ahead.
We actually have a birthday in the house. It is Jordan Stark's 21st birthday today.
Jordan.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday,
Happy birthday.
man.
Thank you.
Let's see, what would I do if I was in the theme park working? I'd be like,
oh gosh, hiya Jordan, happy birthday. It's swell that you came out here to see us today.
Yeah, so that's what we would have done if you were actually here. So and then I'd probably give you a birthday button with your name on it. So
well, thank you.
Yes. Jordan, do you work in any parks?
Yeah, I work at Universal. Well,
okay.
Seasonal stuff for Universal.
So does like Gru have greeting for you or something?
Honestly, I do not know.
Maybe the Minions? I don't know.
Possibly.
Yeah. So, well, have a happy birthday. If it makes you feel any better, my sister just had her birthday on the 2nd, and so a lot of us had birthdays in the quarantine world. So, not a whole lot else we can do.
Yeah, right.
Selena, where can you find the recording of the last lecture? I was unable to locate it. It is literally on YouTube. It should be there. There's a link to it on web courses in the module for last week. Can you not see that link? Let me make sure that it's there, but it should be. Let's see, last week was the 30th. Yeah, it's watch the lecture on YouTube. Should be there. So, yeah. Each week, I mean, I put them on YouTube, and then they're also on Zoom. So if you go through web courses on the left-hand side, you should be able to see all the Zoom meetings, all the previous ones there. I don't actually know what it looks like for you because I'm the professor and we have a different view than you do, but it's supposed to be there in the student view. So I'm going to turn up the gain a little bit. All right, so let's talk about special events and the like and all that fun stuff. So who can name some special events?
Very Merry Christmas Party.
Mickey's Very Merry Christmas Party. That's right. That's one.
Mickey's
That's
Not
an
So
upcharge
Scary.
ticket event. What else do we have?
Mickey's Not So
Hello.
Scary.
Mickey's Not So Scary. That's Halloween. Yes.
Halloween Horror Nights.
Halloween Horror Nights. I love Halloween Horror Nights.
Red
Me
wine.
too. I love Halloween Horror Nights. Okay. It's going to be another one of those today. Yes, Halloween Horror Nights is actually one of my favorites. Have you ever been to Halloween Horror Night? How many of you have been? You can actually use the hand raise function. We can see, and I can see everybody's reactions there. Okay. Cool. Hand raise. It actually will actually show a symbol when you actually raise your hand on your video, so it actually pops up. So cool. Halloween Horror Nights is fun, and the scariest thing about Halloween Horror Nights are clowns. Remember Jack the Clown? Jack is creepy. Yeah, yeah. So oh, that's really loud. Yeah, we have audio too with sound effects. Why do we do special events in theme parks? See, the Bozo the Clown on drugs. Yeah. So I'm going to take this. I know some of you are like, no, that's too scary. Turn it off. So I'm not in the clown mask anymore. Do we have any people that are afraid of clowns, that have a fear of clowns in here? Usually I have a couple in different classes and everything. But sorry, Tiana. That's why there's a disclaimer on this course when you sign up for it. So here's a fun story about Halloween Horror Nights, and really Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party as well. Traditionally in the theme park industry in Orlando, the Halloween time, pretty much the entire month of September and October, they were dead. Nobody came to Orlando. I mean, it was the quietest time of the year. Then we started doing all these events for Halloween, and now October is one of the busiest months. And that shows the power of special events. And it's become a cultural phenomenon as well, because other cultures around the world, for example, Australia did not celebrate Halloween. It was just not really a thing. But the theme parks in Australia on the Gold Coast started doing Halloween events, and people started seeing the commercialization of Halloween all over. And now all of a sudden, Halloween is a huge thing in Australia. Disneyland Paris, same thing. In France, Halloween isn't really, a huge holiday, but Disneyland changed that by doing really amazing Halloween decorations. It's one of the creepier parks to go to. If you go to Germany, the park there called Europa Park actually does a Halloween event, and they're actually allowed to touch you. The laws are different in Germany, and they will chase after you and scare you, and it's just so much fun. I mean, I guess it depends on how you describe fun. Some of you, that sounds terrifying, but yeah, you can get run after. The point is that these types of special events for theme parks, because they're usually upcharges, they're not always upcharge events though, but they will bring you to the parks in a time when it wouldn't normally be as crowded. So it's a big deal. What other types of special events can you do to bring in people besides
Marathons.
Halloween Horror Nights? Oh, Hong Kong Disneyland's really good during Halloween Horror Nights. Food and Wine Festival. Oh yeah, I like the Food and Wine Festival. And if you ever go to Oktoberfest in Germany, then you can put on your Oktoberfest hat and you get out your beer. We have Hochgarten here. And then you have Prost. Okay, we're a hospitality college. We can have beer in class. It's fine. Mardi Gras, that's another big one. I don't have a hat for Mardi Gras. Mardi Gras is really big at Universal. The parade there is interesting because, they're like 10-cent beads and people go crazy over them, Actually, the beads cost a lot less. Maybe Bill will tell you. Oh, that reminds me. I have a special announcement. Next class, I hope you're all here because we're going to have the Chief Operating Officer and President of Universal Orlando, Bill Davis. He is going to join us on Zoom and give us some sort of lecture. So he is the head of Universal Orlando. So that will be a lot of fun. So hopefully you can be here next week. It'll be the same time, 1:30, just like this. But I wanted to have at least one guest speaker, and we, Bill was actually going to come into the class and do it, but I was very happy to know that he's still willing to do it even over Zoom. So it should be as long as nothing happens to his schedule in the next week. The theme park industry randomly decides to reopen, which I doubt. He will be here. So that should be really good. But Before it was canceled, Potter Celebration Day. Yes, Harry Potter. Where's my bottle of pumpkin juice go? I had a prop for that. No, I can't find my pumpkin juice, so it's so sad. Oh, here it is. Pumpkin juice. See? Boysenberry Festival at Knott's. Yes, that's a big deal. That's a special event. May the 4th. How about May the 5th, Cinco de Mayo? Put on your sombrero, have some fun. Yay. Margaritas. No, I'm not going to, I don't have a margarita machine. That'd be too much fun for this class. RIP Star Wars weekends. Why did they get rid of Star Wars weekends? That was a big deal because, Star Wars, the Disney companies started to take Star Wars a lot more seriously than it had been in the past. So that was a very big deal to remove Star Wars weekends, but in favor of doing something a lot more immersive and true to the nature of the films. Star Wars weekends, it almost made fun of Star Wars. I actually compared their Star Wars show they did to Bill and Ted. If you ever got to see Bill and Ted at Halloween Horror Nights, it was a parody show. But you can find it on YouTube and watch some of the Star Wars shows from Star Wars weekends. The ultimate best one that I saw, though, Jason Sorrell, who now works at Universal, but he's gone back and forth between Disney and Universal. He did Race to New York with starring Jimmy Fallon. And he did a lot of the older shows at Universal. And he used to write the Bill and Ted show at Universal. And when he was working at Disney, they did a big Star Wars day, and George Lucas showed up and everything for it. And they produced a show at the Indiana Jones Epic Stunt Spectacular called Indiana Jones and the Jedi Temple of Doom. And they mixed everything together. And as you can imagine, that was hilarious because you kept having these bump-ins where Han Solo keeps bumping into Indiana Jones. And it's like, wait, what? Because Harrison Ford plays both characters, so that was quite fun. And that's also on YouTube, so you can find that. Just look for Indiana Jones and the Jedi Temple of Doom. That's a fun video to watch. You're a bit mad that you never got to trade with a Jawa. Yeah, well, I did, and I traded a pin, and he gave me like this little. It wasn't very much. I didn't like the trade, so don't. Sometimes you got some really good stuff from Jawas. Sometimes it was just utter like plastic crap, So, I forgot about my other Potters. I have Potter glasses too to go with the pumpkin juice. So now I just need the scar going down. So I have more fun that way. What other kind of events can you do? Events that are a little bit different, but you'd still do a special event. You do a groundbreaking ceremony with your hard hat. This is not a ASTM standard hard hat. This one is from Party City for like 50 cents. Hard hat groundbreaking ceremonies are a big deal because it gets people excited for a new project. And sometimes you don't want people to put off their vacation, but you want them to be excited for what's going to happen next. So that's a big deal. Coachella, Lollapalooza, music festivals. Yeah, music festivals are big. Sweethearts Night at Disneyland, art festivals. Yeah, these are all ways to bring additional people to the parks and make additional revenue. Special events outside of parks could be the entire thing. So, things like Coachella, that's its thing on its own. It doesn't exist any other time. It's only there then. That's the difference between a special event in a theme park versus a special event on its own. It's a completely separate event on its own. Disney Vacation Club or annual pass holder events. Those are designed just to keep morale up between those populations of guests that come to the parks. So that's it's nice to do them, but they're not always necessary. The Orlando Informer. Okay, so Orlando Informer is a separate company that rents out Universal's parks. They are very interesting because they do a lot of advertising essentially, and they were able to actually make a decent amount of money. And then they take that money and then they rent out the park because they make enough to actually pay to rent out Universal's parks. Now, any private company can do that. And generally speaking, you're talking about $100,000 to do that. So it's not cheap. But if you get enough people, then you can do it. I'm sure that Orlando Informer gets some kind of discount because they're basically a universal fan site. But if you try to rent out the Magic Kingdom entirely, you're going to be looking at something that's like a tenth of $1,000,000. But that also includes entertainment and food and a lot of other things. So you're looking at a pretty high price. Fireworks, dessert parties. Now that's not really a special event. Those are upcharge events. So you quarantine off. Oh, I hate to use the term quarantine. You close off an area of the park and you put a dessert buffet there, and then you charge people and they think they're getting a special viewing area. And a lot of times that special area is not even as good as the normal viewing area for the fireworks anyway. But the desserts are good. And at Epcot, they added the Frozen experience to it. So you you get to ride the Frozen ride without waiting in line. So after the fireworks, they escort you to the Frozen boat ride, Frozen Ever After. And poof, there you go. So the 24 hours event. Yes, we talked about that before in the class, didn't we? Keeping the parks open for 24 hours is kind of a nightmare because you don't have enough time to do maintenance, and then they ran out of food and stuff. And I don't know, that just wasn't planned well the first time they did it. The second time was a lot more planned and a lot better. But and you did that for the press more than anything else. Sometimes you have different reasons. So anytime you do a special event, you have to establish what the goals are, who is putting up the money for this event, what you want to accomplish. And after you do the event, you do a post event kind of a checklist that you go over what went right, what went wrong, and you decide how can you make it better the next time. Things that you learn from doing it. Because if you've made a lot of mistakes during the event, you don't want to repeat those, but at the same time, you want to make sure that it goes better. And you generally want to thank people, for actually working on the event too. A lot of people underestimate the power of just getting a thank you, but it's really important to really support the people that work under you. When Bill Davis comes in, he'll probably talk to you about that because he performs in what's called management by wandering around and also wondering how he can make your job easier or better or more fun as he walks around the parks. So he makes sure that you have the tools that you need to perform your job. And he'll listen, he'll implement things. So it's really good. Jingle Bell, Jingle Bam. Hopefully I get this one right. What is Jingle Bell, Jingle? I thought wasn't that the name of the nighttime show? That's more of what we would call a spectacular, because that was a fireworks show, if I'm not mistaken. Blake, is that what you're referring to? Or are you referring to like a separate ticket event or something? Or is it just the fireworks show at Hollywood Studios? I thought it was a separate ticket event. I'm not sure that it is. It might be, but if it is, I'm not aware of it. I thought that was just the name of the fireworks show, but I could be wrong.
Hey, Professor.
Yes.
What about, I know I'm kind of getting some of these wrong. What about like the spring training for Atlanta Braves? Is that a separate ticket event, or is that like just a reoccurring every year thing? And so,
well, reoccurring things are still considered special events, but spring training is something that is extended over a very long period of time, and you're paying, I don't know, it has a lot in common with it, I guess. It depends if you consider going to a baseball game a special event or not, during spring training. I think it's so far removed from theme parks. I mean, where do the Braves play? They're down in Sarasota, right? I think. Or
well, they actually
somewhere
come to the Wide World of Sports on Disney property.
I thought they got rid of that a couple years ago. I don't
Oh,
think they do that anymore.
Oh.
But yeah, even then, I mean, it wasn't really there wasn't a whole lot of Disney that was, you know, part of that. That's just a location. It's just it's just a stadium, really. Yeah, I'm not. Giannis says, yeah, they got rid of it. Jack Hanna days at SeaWorld and Busch Gardens. Yeah, when Jack Hanna comes out, people will come and see it. I mean, the point is, though, I mean, for doing like spring training, that's not what's the goal of that? That's to prepare baseball players for the actual, you know, season. So it's kind of like the same way of a preseason game. You're just, you know, getting back into the groove of things. They're not being done primarily for the fans. They're being done primarily for the players. And usually special events are there to benefit, you know, a certain party that's more public, like marketing, or it's, you know, a corporation, or, you know, something like that, or the fans themselves, or just the general public. So, I mean, you could include it, but, you know, I won't put that on test or anything. What's a special event and what's not? I just want you to be aware that they're designed in a theme park setting to raise attendance or, you know, gain additional revenue. Events outside that, if it's like Coachella, that is the entire event. It's designed to do everything. Run Disney, yeah, in some ways they're a special event because, you know, you're running a marathon. It's an interesting concept, though, because the Run Disney is become huge at Disney. They do so many different half marathons and 10Ks and 5Ks and, you know, the full marathons, you know, once a year. The Disney Marathon is actually one of the more prestigious marathons to actually do in the country. It actually is a qualifying marathon, which means that if you run the Disney Marathon with good enough time, you can actually go on to do the Boston Marathon, which is, you know, generally considered the top tier marathon in the United States. So that's a big deal. Disney is a little bit different, though, because they on purpose overcharge for the marathons. They are charging a ton to register for these things. And then you have the expo where you know, buy up, you know, get your shoes, get your, you know, accessories for your bib. I'm sure they'll have, you know, like they had the Magic Bandits, like little accessories for your Magic Band. They'll have like little things for your bibs now, I'm sure, in the future, or something like that. If that hasn't been done, then Disney should do that, because I can see people decorating their bibs. You know, and actually it got to the point where people would be about to cross the finish line, and it was about the photo opportunity of finishing. But it was more than that. It was about finishing with a beer in hand or a drink in hand. And they actually had to prevent people. They have to keep, you know, like a couple feet away, so you can't just hand stuff off to runners as they're about to finish. So now you generally have to wait until afterward to get your drink, or you stop in Epcot while you're running. I mean, it adds to your time, but you buy a drink while you're running in Epcot, and then you can continue running after that. But then you have to hold on to the drink for the rest of the race. So that's not too fun. Can you tell I don't like running? I'm it's just never been a thing for me. I actually cycle. I bicycle, but not very often anymore. It's just too hot and humid. But I feel like I'm going to get run over. Actually, there's not much traffic right now. If there's one good thing about COVID-19, it's the traffic is gone. So I don't feel like I'm going to die if I go on a bike ride in Orlando. So that's not too bad. Dapper Day is a special event. It's not a official Disney event. That's a good question. But it is definitely a special event, and Disney creates merchandise that is geared toward dressing up in the parks and Disney bounding all around. So that's a big deal. So let's go a little bit more in depth to special events. Let's see if I still have my presentation here. I think I do. All right. Give it a second. We're going to let it load. But I have a making of Halloween Horror Nights video I'd like you to see to show you what goes into that type of event, because there's a lot of work that goes into doing something like that. I don't think we're getting audio from that computer, so bear with me for just a second.
Hey, Professor, while we're waiting, I just saw this pop up on the news. It's the SeaWorld CEO just tendered his resignation.
Yes. SeaWorld just can't keep a CEO, can they? It's very sad for SeaWorld. All right. I think we have it now, so we're going to try playing it and see what happens. So, can you hear this video?
Is there any way we can take the volume up a little bit? It's kind of hard to hear.
Is that too much or too loud?
That was perfect earlier, I think. What about you guys?
The audio's gone.
Sounds like it's more coming through the other device as opposed to like the presentation.
Yeah, we don't have the sound of it, so we don't see the video.
Until you think, maybe I'll be safe entering these chambers of fright among the monsters, the mayhem, and the living dead. The horror here is state of the art. Hollywood caliber special effects, mind-blowing pyrotechnics, laser projected nightmares, gallons of blood, slime, and decay, and even the simulated smell of burnt flesh.
The sound is gone.
Oh my God, it was the scariest thing I've ever seen in my life. Anything that really you have never confronted in yourself from a fear factor, we'll do here.
We give you a pause to let your guard down, and then we hit you with the absolute blast effect that sends you running out into the streets going, let's get in line for the next one.
The creators of this hideous spectacle have spent months, even years, researching some of the world's biggest thrills and chills. For instance, some of the attractions have been inspired by the cemeteries of New Orleans with its rich voodoo lore. Not to mention Stage 28 in Hollywood, where Phantom of the Opera was filmed, and where the ghost of Lon Chaney has been known to visit.
We start quite early. Again, work from storylines, storyboards into the actual architectural drawings for the haunted houses, and then turn those plans into technical documents that affect the air gags and the propane and wind effects and lightning effects and the storms, and then actually work to produce the three-dimensional sets that put you in the action.
Terrifying? But of course. After all, this is Universal Studios. They've been scaring people since your grandparents were trick-or-treaters. Those classic creatures can still inspire modern-day nightmares. And so can the monsters they've cooked up, especially for Halloween Horror Nights.
We have headless men. We have women that we call Renaissance witches that are part animal and part women. And we have about 70 other zombies and assorted creatures of the deep and dark.
We use every element that nature provides us to actually affect a gag that will take people by surprise.
There are bodies flying everywhere.
So we decided to put together the Mother of All Effects shows.
The Mother of All Effects shows? Surely he exaggerates. Then again, maybe not. You can shiver through the Dungeon of Terror. gape into the depths of terror underground, or fall victim to Beetlejuice himself. Horror films come alive in this house of horror. And then, just when you thought it was safe to come out of the water, you'll come face to face with your greatest fears, projected 45 feet high. That was fun. That was fun. Unbelievable. Or is it? What makes it so unnervingly realistic is the fact that we know it's an illusion, but you never know what's going to come at you from behind the scenes.
I can go in rooms and have gone in rooms over and over again, expecting the gag, but yet when it still hits, I still tense up.
Like we promised, the treat is in the tricks, and we'll let you in on some of the more terrifying tricks and show you how they're done.
Stay tuned for more of the world's biggest Halloween party.
Right here on the Sci-Fi Channel. Look out!
All right. So sorry for the microphone. Everybody, I don't know how clear that video was for everybody, if you could see it clearly or not. But those are the limited capabilities of Zoom's video, I'm afraid. However, you should have noticed that there's a lot of planning that goes involved and a lot of money. Now, Halloween Horror Nights, I told you that it makes money, but I don't think I told you how much money Halloween Horror Nights actually makes. I will give you an idea. So if you're not familiar with Universal, even if you're an annual pass holder, you can't get into Halloween Horror Nights for free. The only people that get into Halloween Horror Nights for free are actual Universal team members, you know, people that work there. So if you're a team member, you can go there on select nights. It used to be every night, but they cut off a few this last year because it's just gotten too many team members and it's too popular. But everybody else you have to pay to go in. The minimum amount you're going to pay is, for one night, if you just want to go, is $30. That's the cheapest it ever gets. And that's, you know, if you subscribe to Coca-Cola and get a Coca-Cola bottle and all this other stuff. The price has gone up dramatically since, you know, and it's very rare I'll even find anything for that cheap now. Usually you're going to pay upwards of $60 to $80 for one night at Halloween Horror Nights now. Now they do have frequent fear passes where you can go as many times as you like. Those start around $100 and they go up depending how many nights you want to go and you know, how often, and if you want Express. And then there's two versions of Express. There's Express, one time for each house, and then one time for each ride. And then there's Unlimited Express, which is unlimited for the houses and rides. And there's also after 10 p.m. Express offering that they sell as well. So it's only good after 10 p.m. And the event usually goes until 1 or 2 a.m. Gavin, the cheapest night you've seen is $60. Well, that shows you. Usually the $30 tickets, they're available. I think you have to buy them way in advance, and you usually have to get them. You have to attend a timeshare presentation or something. You know, it's hard to get them for that cheap now. But yeah, 75 sounds about right. And the overall revenue for Halloween Horror Nights, and this is the big thing here. Halloween Horror Nights pays for the entire event on the first night. Usually, might take the first whole weekend, but the first weekend, that pays for everything that went into building it. If you take all the revenue of Halloween Horror Nights entirely, that pays the operational budget for all of Universal Orlando for the entire year. That's how much money Halloween Horror Nights makes. That's a huge deal. Now that data, when that was gathered, they still had alcohol, like hard liquor sales everywhere. And they had Jell-O shot girls selling Jell-O shots through the lines and everything. And they've actually come back a little bit from that because it was getting a little too crazy. They'd have a lot of fights that would break out in queues, and it just ended up not being worth it. But at the same time, Halloween Horror Nights still makes a lot of money, and it brings people to the parks. So it's a really big deal. And that kind of brings us into marketing. Marketing's the other big piece of the class today. When you create a marketing plan for anything, it's important to understand that marketing is a cyclical process. You're doing the same thing over and over and over again, but they're for different purposes each time you do marketing. So you have different goals every time. Marketing is an interesting process because when you do your marketing, you have to consider every avenue that people will see your product, and you have to tie everything together. A lot of this is branding to make sure that everything looks the same everywhere. Let's take an example. Have you ever met somebody and they hand you a business card, and the business card looks nothing like the website, and the website looks nothing like the signage that's on, whatever the property is? That is not a good marketing plan. It's not a good branding plan. You want to make sure that the website has the same colors and the same font and the same logos as the signage in the park, as the same as on the business card, as is the same on the stationery, on pretty much everything. So when you do branding, you actually create a color scheme. You decide and you create all these different, specialized logos for different uses. You might have a black and white version of the logo that's different than the full color version. It's not like they just, click the grayscale on the full color version. No, they create a separate logo specifically for black and white purposes. You identify what the logo will look like when it's on a page where the background is white or black or other different colors. So that's 3 different versions, because you might have a black outline around it or a white outline, or you might have both outlines. You will have a simplified version of the logo, and then you might have one with gradients. There's something called tricolor printing, where you can only use 3 colors plus black or white. And you create logos so they look good in tricolors, because you can print a lot more that way. Once you have that established for your marketing campaign, and obviously you figure out what the purpose is, what you want to accomplish with the campaign as well, you can move on to the actual advertising. And there are different methods of marketing. For theme parks, it's a cyclical process. You're doing everything over and over again, but you're changing it up every time. And you have different campaigns. Some campaigns are specific to a brand new attraction. Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, they have it on billboards. I just saw it. It's, nothing can stop us now except for coronavirus. That's the song, right? But it's a cute ride if you've been on it. And if you haven't, there's a billboard somewhere near Disney Springs, so you can see it on I-4. And the interesting thing about Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway is that this was an attraction that was an entire year late. It was supposed to open before Star Wars, and it didn't. It got delayed. And they had to kind of delay the entire marketing budget. A lot of their money disappeared. It went towards Star Wars. So your budgets are always fluctuating, and you have to, compensate for that. Disney has an internal marketing agency called Yellow Shoes. Universal also has their own internal marketing agency called Universal Marketing. Yellow Shoes, does anyone guess where Yellow Shoes comes from? Why is Disney's internal marketing called Yellow Shoes?
The color of Mickey's shoes, maybe?
That's right. Yes, Mickey's shoes are the logo. So if anyone says they work in Yellow Shoes, you know that they're working in marketing or branding, and that's internal to the company. They usually do internal stuff, and then they end up doing stuff for billboards, and a lot of the videos you see on the Disney Parks blog, they're all done from Yellow Shoes. The live streams are produced by Yellow Shoes and special events combined, because they get together and do them. So when you see the Disney Parks blog with Jennifer Fickley Baker or anything, reporting, and then they have like the same guy. He's so animated, and he's like, fire kites, yay! If you saw the live stream for the new fireworks show at Epcot, And he's like overexcited about everything. But that's the kind of guy you want, someone who's just overexcited and happy to do anything. I call it the Jimmy Fallon characteristic. It's the Jimmy Fallon personality. And, you know, he'll get excited. This is the best can in the world. Look at the beautiful graphics. Look at the aluminum around the top. It's so perfect. And it was so easy to open. Gosh, I love this can. Look at this. You could do a can dance with the can, you know? And it's like, okay, give me a break. But that's how you do, you know, certain personalities, you know, work well with that and others don't. So you always try to hire a spokesperson that's animated. So you have a characteristic that way. With marketing, you generally have a finite budget. You generally try not to go over it. And if you do, you might not get any additional money. So you might actually take a loss on it. The interesting thing about marketing is that you have to prove that your marketing, your advertising, and marketing is a little bit different than advertising. Marketing is the umbrella. It's overall, all encompassing, and advertising is just one tiny unit of marketing. That's important to understand. Marketing is a full strategy based on the goals that you want to happen. But you have to look at the overall revenue that the company's made and figure out if the marketing campaign made a difference, you know, and how do you prove that? And that's like the beauty of the whole thing is, well, you can't. It's not really possible to prove that your marketing did really well unless, and here's the unless you track it and you have analytics. So how do you do that? Well, if any of you have your own websites or anything, you can use something called Google Analytics, and it will tell your click-through rate when people click on something, and you can see how they discovered your product. And that's not to say that they're discovering it the first time, but it gives you a good idea. So you do what's called marketing research, and you identify your target demographic, and you create advertisements and marketing materials designated specifically for those demographics. And then you track it and how people are getting there. If you go to any website at any time, I immediately know where you physically are. All right, your location. I might not know your exact house, but I'll know the region, especially if you use your cell phone, because there's something called cell phone triangulation. Now, if I know where you are, I can have targeted advertising specifically to you. And this is all based on your IP address and the cell phone triangulation, if it's giving me a GPS location or not. That's why a lot of websites will ask you, it wants to see your location, click OK to continue, blah, blah, blah. I can offer you different pricing depending on where you are. If you're in Florida, I can offer you Florida resident pricing, assuming that you're a Florida resident. I don't necessarily have to have you, type in your zip code to know that you're a Florida resident. I can just do that automatically by identifying where you physically are. And chances are, if you're looking at planning a vacation website and you're visiting and you're in Florida, you're not, from out of state. You probably live here. Now, there's a downside to the location tracking, and that's the whole privacy piece. But as I have found over time, and this is a generalization and this is my opinion, but this is what I have found, people are genuinely willing to trade their privacy for ease of use and simplicity. And that is a huge thing to remember. People are generally willing to trade privacy for ease of use and simplicity. Now, a lot of you might disagree with that, and that's okay. And in fact, you'd be smart to disagree with that. I have people in the NSA that I have met just randomly, and they say, no, we know way too much about everyone, but, people are willing to give up the information. And sometimes you don't give up the information, by choice. Sometimes you do it because you have to. Let's talk about credit cards, for example. How many of you have a credit card? Yeah, all right. A lot of people are raising your hands. That's good. For the record, you should all have a credit card at your age. All of you. Even if you never use it, it's a really good way to build credit. And you always have to pay it off. Never leave a balance on your credit card. And if you're saying, well, I have a debit card or whatnot, that's, the same thing. Well, it's not. Debit cards are not the same as credit cards. They cannot help you build your credit, and they're a much higher risk to you. If there's ever any fraudulent charges, the money is already gone from your account with a debit card. Credit cards, the money stays in your account, and then you fight it, and you don't have to worry about it because the bank will fight on your behalf. So get a credit card. From Madison to everyone, tell that to my dad. Well, you know what? Tell your dad. Here's a message for your dad. You can say this. She needs a credit card because it's the responsible thing to do as long as she pays it off every month. Okay? There. Okay? That's this. I'm a professor. I teach this. So there you go. I'll let you know if you're disowned. Okay. Gianna, your dad is right. So do that. Get a credit card. So it's actually really smart. It will help build your credit score. And that's one of the hardest things to build up. If you're trying to get above, your goal with a credit score should be above 800, and it's difficult to get above 800. Even myself, I'm probably like 799 or something. It's difficult to keep it above 800. You actually have to have a little debt to do it. And some people don't like living with any debt at all. Yes, life is a lot easier with a good credit score. So, but get a credit card. If you can't get one for some reason, you can get what's called a secured credit card, where you put down $100 or $200 or whatever it is, and then it's secured. But at least you're rebuilding your credit score if something's happened to you and it's damaged. But that's really good advice. Anyway, the point of all this is your credit card is a credit card number. And there's information embedded on that mag stripe of the credit card or inside the chip. So anytime you swipe or insert, into a machine, the company can usually read your name, and it can read the credit card number. It can create a user profile at the transaction at a register. Have you ever gone into a place and they ask you for your phone number at the same time, and then you pay with your credit card? All of a sudden, they know immediately your phone number, that you have a credit card, and your name. And they'll know how many times you keep coming back to the store. They might send you coupons, because once they have your name, they can actually cross-reference that with another database and find your name and the phone number and easily find your address and then send you marketing materials. Yay! Let's see how easy that is to work. So what if you want to buy things in secret? What if you don't want people to know who you are? Well, you give them a fake phone number, 867-5309. And then you probably need to use Apple Pay or cash. Now, Apple Pay is really interesting because it creates a unique credit card number every time you add it to your phone, and it creates a different authentication number every time you use it, and it keeps rotating over and over and over again. So it's never linked, and it doesn't give your name or anything. So there's not really a good way to track people that use Apple Pay. So anytime you get a credit card, if you have an existing credit or debit card, use Apple Pay as much as you can. And for those of you that have a debit card, if that's all you have, never, except at an ATM, type in your PIN to do anything. Always say, I'm going to use my debit card, but I want to use it as credit. So you hit the credit button. If it asks you debit or credit, always hit credit. And that actually is a huge security factor for you, because once you say that you're using it as a credit card, then you're not liable for any fraud or misuse on any transaction, and the money doesn't come out till later. So always use it as credit if you have that option. So from the marketing side, though, this is Bill the evil marketing guy. You know what Bill the evil marketing guy is? He likes to play games. I want to play a game. Okay. No, I can't teach with that thing on. But that was Bill from Saw. His name is Billy. Why would I not like that? But marketing is a game, because I'm trying to gather all the information I can about you to sell you stuff better, or convince you to do something more, like go on a Disney vacation, or any vacation really. And you know what? It sometimes really works. You can really get into people, especially if you link your social media profiles. Because once you do one thing, and this is the fun thing about marketing, if you view an ad and you click on it in one place, you have something called a cookie. And the cookie is everywhere. It'll be on Facebook, it'll be on Google, and anytime you see an advertisement on Facebook or Google, those are the two biggest advertisement providers on the internet, by the way, are Facebook and Google. If you click on it once, it just keeps reappearing over and over and over. And there's jokes about, your phone is listening to you all the time. So if you talk about a product that you've never had interest in talking about before, and your phone is around and Facebook is open, your phone will, or Facebook will recognize that you mentioned this product somehow, and then you'll start seeing advertisements for it. And isn't that creepy? Isn't that fun? But that's that's how that works. Now, is there actual evidence to support this? In some cases, there is. Facebook is supposedly not listening to your conversations at all times. But the predictive algorithm for your spending patterns is so good that they probably already knew that you were going to want to buy it anyway. And I will give you an example of this. This is a real story, honest to God, real thing. It's been documented. You can look it up. So we have to identify the family unit. So we have a mom, a dad, and a daughter. And I think the daughter was about 15 years old. And some of you are like, oh, I can figure out where this is going to go. But 15-year-old daughter. Now, she has a credit card that was given to her because you're able to get a credit card at 15, from your parents or whatnot. And even if not, you can still, get information about credit cards and everything. You can get one pretty young. I think the age is 12 now for a lot of the credit card companies. You can get one. It's on your parents' account. Yeah, 12 years old, and then your parents will pay for it. So don't say what? No, it's real. It's a real thing. And it's actually
sorry,
good.
the French girl in me, it's
No, but you inherit your parents' credit card score, your credit score to a bit. So the longer that you have it, the better off you are, the better chances you have of inheriting the credit score. So it sets you up for more success in life. So that's important. And as time goes by, we're becoming more and more of a cashless society. So if I put a child on a plane, they're not able to buy anything with cash. It's not possible. So they have to have a credit card. Although if you put a child on a plane alone, I think they make all the food free anyway for the kid. I think that's required by the FAA regulations, at least in the United States anyway. So if you're like a child traveling alone, then all the food will be free and paid for. So they can get M&Ms and all the fun stuff. Not beer. Anyway. Where was I going with this? Oh, yes, the fun story about the family unit. So the father gets the mail because he is the one who usually gets home at the right time to check the mailbox. And he starts getting all of these advertisements from Target. And he's very confused because the advertisements are for baby products and like diapers and things. And he actually calls Target and complains like, what the hell is wrong with you? Why would you send this shit to my daughter, in my household? Nobody, what are you trying to do? Give her ideas. And like, well, sir, it's just based on your spending habits at our stores. It's like, what are you talking about? And so he brings it up to his wife, and she knew, but he didn't know that his daughter was pregnant. And he didn't know that. And that's how he found out, was because Target had, because she had, bought a pregnancy test, I guess, at a Target. And that spending habit triggered, because it was on the same account, for the family. So it triggered advertising, because she started getting things for prenatal care and all this stuff at Target. So that's, be aware that the marketing is that powerful. So we can really paint a very good picture of who you are just by your credit card spending. In fact, your credit card company probably knows more about you and what you'd be interested in than almost any other company would be your credit card company. And that's just, even if you just have a debit card, they'll still know a lot about you. So, and this is actually the reason why in Germany, it's very much an anti-credit card society. In Germany, you pay cash almost everything because they're too worried about grouping anyone together in groups. After World War II, there's this big mistrust in trying to group anyone together. So that's yeah. It makes things a lot more difficult in Germany because you have to make sure you have a lot of euros on you anywhere you go, and you have to have, you know, change and coins in your pockets all the time. But at least, you know, tax is usually included, and you don't have to tip in Germany very much. You only tip, you know, a couple euros or something. It's not based on a percentage or anything. So that's a little bit better. Marketing in theme parks, again, it's a cyclical process. So if you end up working, you do one project for a marketing campaign, and then it spins around and the campaign's over. You evaluate how effective it was, and you do the whole thing over again, slightly differently. I'm gonna go through my notes again. Different types of marketing campaigns. You can have a marketing campaign for a specific product, or you can have an overall branding and brand awareness campaign for the entire company. Some marketing campaigns are really cool and really cute. Others are specifically timeless on purpose because they want it to be just general about the image of the company. An example, Disney launched a campaign about 15 years ago. No, 15, I guess probably 20 years now when this was written, called the Magic Happens campaign. And it was a series of commercials about just magic happening. And I wonder if I have the video here, if I can. I'm going to see if I have it. We're going to find out very quickly. No, I don't think I have the video here. Might just be on YouTube though. I'll post the videos on if I can find them on YouTube, but there's a very cute one about it's a man and his girlfriend, and they're at a fancy restaurant on a date, and you can tell it's been a few years and they've been dating, and she's like ready that like, oh, he's going to propose tonight because it's our anniversary and everything, you know. And he actually gets to the point where, you know, there's something I wanted to ask you, you know. And so she's like, you know, smiling and everything, giving him all the signs, you know, that I would say yes if you asked, you know, that kind of thing. And, you know, it's our anniversary and I got you a little something. And he goes and reaches over and he pulls out a shoebox. And she like is so disappointed. It's like, what's wrong with you? You gave me shoes. And he's like, open it. It's like, no, I'll open it when we get home. No, open it. And she opens a shoebox and it's a glass slipper. Maybe some of you have seen it before. And then, you know, that's the thing. And, you know, she like, everyone is like looking at her and she's just so smiling and ecstatic. And she goes, he bought me a shoe. He bought me a shoe. and then it goes to Disney, Magic Happens, you know, and that was the, you know, the trademark for the company. So there's a series of commercials like that. One of them was a little bit more edgy. And it was, oh, I don't know if I should talk about this one. No, you can watch it. So, but it's, yeah, I have to now. So it's a crowded elevator. Okay. So there's like 10 different people in an elevator, and it focuses on everyone else in the elevator, and then a mom with a stroller, and then like a 6-year-old. Okay. and there's like a newborn baby like in this. Actually, I don't know if the baby's in a stroller or still in her arms or whatnot, but there's a newborn, and the kid, like the 6-year-old, he has this little model of a cruise ship and everything, and he just starts talking to everyone in the elevator about how awesome their Disney Cruise Line trip was and everything. It's like, I got to go around and we had our own little, world, and we had, this unique places to go, and mommy and daddy got massages and everything, and it was so fun. And then the kid goes, it's like, that's my new baby brother, but mommy calls him a little souvenir. And that was it came up, it's like, when did you just get off the cruise? Like, no, that was 10 months ago. It's like, okay, you do the math and you figure it out. And then the mother's like, yes, we all had a great time on the cruise ship, Disney cruise. And then it goes to magic happens. So that they actually became pretty edgy too for the time. So yeah, take a look at those. Now, those are considered corporate awareness or branding campaigns, brand awareness for the entire company, what the company is about. Disney, summing it up, it's about magic. Apple, it's about innovation and thinking differently. So you think about that. If it's Nike, it's about running. The classic branding campaigns for companies generally don't focus exactly on a tangible product that the company's selling. It's the overall what the company stands for. Disney makes magic and makes your dreams come true. Apple is about creating things, thinking different ways to do things and everything. They're not selling a laptop in an advertisement. They're telling you who the company is. And why is that? It's because we as human beings, we like to see deeper into something. We don't want to take something at face value. Geico is saving 15% or more on car insurance. Well, that's a little bit different. I mean, that's a necessity product. I mean, I don't know a whole lot of people that go, car insurance shopping, for any other reason than finding the best value. I mean, that people don't really care because it's not something that you ever have to deal with unless, knock on wood, you get in an accident. So, but for companies like Apple, I mean, you do have a definite choice, and there is a differentiator in the product. So Nike is the same thing, the different quality of shoes and whatnot. So then I can see that, but yeah. The Geico commercial though, I would say that the 15% or more on car insurance, that's more about selling a product specifically. Geico is more about this cute little gecko, and he gets confused because his name is Gecko and everybody calls him instead of calling Geico. I don't know if that's really a brand awareness campaign, but it's a cute idea there. So I don't think there's any, deeper meaning to the company and Geico. I think they really are just, trying to be an insurance company, but cute advertising anyway. When you have a product, timelines are a little bit different. When you're doing a corporate awareness campaign, they're ongoing. You're always, advertising the same thing. So that's a much wider circle of how that works. When you have individual products, there is a launch timeline and it's attached. And that's really important for the theme park industry because marketing has to start really, really early on when you're very first starting construction on a new attraction. You actually keep marketing in the loop because marketing will eventually need materials to advertise the attraction well before it's open. So during your construction process, you have to always include marketing in the entire design and creation of the attraction. And if you don't do that, you run into a lot of problems later on when you try to, make sure the attraction is successful. On top of that, marketing can actually slow down the construction of your attraction. I'll give you an example of that. You have something called a media day or a press day, and that's usually done before the attraction is actually complete. Now, you don't have to make sure the attraction is running or anything, but you bring the media onto the construction site. And when the media goes to the construction site, they're there wandering around. You have to make sure it's safe for them. So you have to kind of halt construction for the day, which might put you, you know, a day behind schedule. And you think, oh, it's just one day. Well, no, it's not just that. You also have to make sure there's pathways and everything. So you might have to prepare for the media, and you lose like a 3 to 5 days worth of construction because you can't start on something new that'll interrupt the path for the media to go through. And you have to finish the construction that's already been done and clear a clean pathway so the media can go through and film the construction of the attraction that's being built. And then later on, as it gets closer to opening day, and you're trying to, you know, when you already started advertising the attraction is opening up on this day, and then, you know, okay, when are we going to open? You got to open on that day. You've done all this marketing and media, you know, specifically for that, and then you can't open on the right day. Well, that's a big problem. So be careful about that. Universal had a big issue with that, with the original Wizarding World of Harry Potter. They announced it would be opening in spring of whatever year that was. Was it 10 years ago now, probably? And they opened, I think, for the second to last day of spring of that year. That was the fastest they could get it done and open. And the lines were really long, and the attraction, it had some issues, you know, Harry Potter and the Forbidden Journey. But it's doing pretty well, you know. That changed Universal's fate forever. Disney, they never really announced the opening dates for things early for Star Wars, so people didn't know that it was a year behind. But it really was, you know, stuff was supposed to open up earlier. So Universal Hollywood just had a massive problem with that for Jurassic World. I'm not familiar, Nora, with what their problem was. Did they have an issue opening early enough? I mean, you can talk if you like, or, you know, if you don't
Yeah,
want
so
to.
they announced that they were supposed to be opening for like summer, and they wouldn't announce any dates, and it was like end of July and there was no word. And then they started like very end of July trying to open it for, like, they called it technical rehearsals or something like that, and it was like totally random and it was breaking down all the time. So I don't think it even officially like opened until like mid-August, when it was supposed to be like early summer for like a summer fun thing.
Wow. I guess that is too bad. But wow. Well, anyway, I guess that probably really screwed up their marketing campaign because they didn't open up early enough. They probably had a bad summer attendance, because if you announce something is going to open and then it doesn't open, you have one of two things that happen. One, people show up and they're disappointed because it's not open, or two, people cancel their vacations and postpone them until later. So sometimes it's best not even to announce that you're going to open something if it's a couple of years down the road, because then people will postpone their vacations until then. You know, that's why Universal Orlando still hasn't announced their Jurassic Park roller coaster that's going in over there. Even though there's obvious construction of a roller coaster going into Jurassic Park, no one has said anything officially from the company. By the way, when Bill Davis is here, try not to ask him about secret projects or things that haven't been announced. He's not going to be allowed to answer them. So just don't even try. He's if he wants to talk about something, he'll volunteer it. Jurassic Park, he can probably say, yeah, there's something going on there. I wonder what that is, but, you know, have some tea. But yeah, no, that's a big thing there. No, Blake, he would not be able to talk about Mario World. If it's in Epic Universe, just assume he'll be able to talk about that they're building it and it's across the street and that's what's happening, you know. But I don't think he'll say anything else. Quentin says Ripsaw Falls was supposed to reopen the day before the park closed and the water was still drained. They viewed the closure as a blessing. Yeah, sometimes when things just aren't ready, then you don't want to open them anyway. So now the goal, of course, should always be to open, because that's how you make money. I mean, sure, it's easier if we just don't have anybody in the park, you know, why operate it at all? But then you lose money. So you don't want to, you want things to be open as quickly as you can. So let's see where we are on this course right now. I just want to, because we're pretty much done talking about marketing. Any questions so far on marketing or special events? You can raise your hand and I'll see it, or you can just comment or just start talking. It doesn't matter. I do give you an assignment this week. There will be a discussion that is going to open up tonight. And then there's also 2 questions to submit to appear on the final exam. The final exam is during the final exam period that's assigned by UCF. So your final exam for this course starts on April 21st and it goes an entire week. It is online, obviously. It's our only option, pretty much. So you'll be taking that, and we will be doing a quick review of material for the final exam on the very last class meeting on April 20th. So you definitely want to be there for that. Again, the very next class, April 5th, 13th, that's next week. Bill Davis will be here. We might go a little long because I'm not going to cut off Bill Davis when he speaks because he's the president of Universal. So we're not going to, do anything there. But that'll be about our main thing. Can a question be the name of my skeleton character? I mean, are you? Sorry. Ooh, that was blurry for a second. Sorry about that. Why don't you just ask him? What's your name? My name is Giovanni, man. That's why I have a name tag. It says Giovanni. Okay. Are you happy now, Blake? When Bill is here, I mean, you can have some questions ready to go for him. If you want to email me a question if you want for Bill, and I can, give it to him ahead of time so he can prepare to answer it. Just do that by Friday if you want to do that. Otherwise, you can just ask when he's here. That's fine. But there'll be a discussion this week and then next week, I will have a quiz for you that'll talk about the Imagineering series. So it's really important for you to finish watching that Imagineering series. Should you be writing every name mentioned? I mean, the skeleton's name is Giovanni. He told you himself. Yeah, man. My name's Giovanni. See? Name tag. Okay.
What kind of questions do you want for the finals?
It explains very specifically in the in that assignment on exactly what to do. I believe I am requesting specifically true or false or multiple choice questions. Everyone gets to submit 2, and you have actually it's only true or false. I'm asking for you. So true or false questions based on things that we've talked about in the class. It can be anything all the way from the first day all the way until now. It could also be in any of the videos that we've watched or anything too. But it's very, very specific. Like the first line has to be the question. Then you have to say what the correct answer is. So you'd say true or false on the second line. And then the third line, you have to say why it's true or false. So if it's false, you have to say, why it would be true. And if it's true, you have to say, well, for both of them, if it's true or false, you also have to say what lecture it's from, or, where the information is from, why is it true or false? So.
What about if it's a name of the thing? I mean, like Giovanni. Like, why is it true? Well, because it's in his name. I mean.
Okay. Do not put a question about Giovanni.
No,
okay?
Not about Giovanni, but like a name of the thing. I mean.
Yeah.
I don't have.
If it's something that's well known, then you don't have to reference it. That's okay. Just say that it's well known, no reference necessary. So like if you say that Walt Disney World opened up in 1973, then that answer would be false. And then you would say it's false because Disney World opened in 1971. This is well known. Period. That's all you have to do. Okay. Gianna, do you have a question? You're raising your hand, or is that just waving? No, you're just okay. No worries. The name of an Imagineer. That's fine. Yeah, you should know people, especially Bob Gurr and Tony Baxter in the Imagineering series, John Lasseter, people like that. Any people that really contributed. So look at, top executives and Imagineers that are in that series. You should know that. You should have a general idea of how things work and what the process is like. So, anything else?
Hey, Professor, there's a lot of people asking, when it comes to the Imagineering series, what should we be focusing on when it comes to writing down notes, like the names of the Imagineers?
That's
Anything
what we
specific?
just said.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. No, it's fine. But yeah, no, you should be focusing on everything that's in the series, but make sure you know the names of the executives and the Imagineers and, major projects, basically. So Bill Evans is a good example. So I actually say resort casual. Since we're all at home, relaxed. If you know what resort casual is, I'll actually put that for next week. For men, for women, just a blouse, please don't be in any underwear or anything, but it's not going to be that big of a deal. But try to make yourself look nice, first impressions over Zoom for Bill Davis, he does not hire directly. And I don't think Universal is hiring at the moment for a whole lot. I mean, there's jobs on Universal Careers, but even if they're there, I don't think they're going to pull the trigger and actually hire anyone right now, from what I understand from my people in HR, unless it's like something that's really necessary for them to hire. They will be, but not currently. But if you want a job at Universal, don't ask Bill for one. You can ask him for advice on how to get one, but he's not going to be able to give you a job. Goofy hat and Mickey bar. I don't know what that means, Blake. Oh, you're gonna wear a Goofy hat.
I was trying to be funny for the casual, like what to wear.
Oh,
it's a bad time.
Yeah. Bill will probably make fun of you if you wear something that's Disney. So keep that in mind. That is Bill's sense of humor. Bill Davis also, it's important to know that he used to work at SeaWorld as well. So if you have questions about SeaWorld, you can ask that. He actually started, I believe, as a photographer in SeaWorld in San Diego. So yes, your webcam should be on when Bill Davis is here next week. I want to require that as much as I can. So webcam on for next week. So plan that. Plan to be in a place where you could have your webcam turned on for Bill Davis next week. Anything else? All right. Well, I hope you enjoyed the little bit of marketing and special events that we talked about today. I'm going to try to post some links to the videos, and there will be a discussion that will open up tonight. So make sure you do that, and then don't forget about next week for the questions. If you want to send a question to me ahead of time for Bill Davis, do that by Friday. And then you also have the questions for the final exam that you can submit. No guarantees that your question will be on the final exam, but if it ends up there, hey, that's 2 less questions that you have to know the answer to, because you'll know them because you wrote them. So, all right. Have a great week, everybody. And we will see you next time. And now a round of applause for Giovanni. Yes. Thank you very much. Thank you. Have a good night, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.